Oh, okay.
All
Oh,
right.
look,
Good
Aaliyah
evening,
Hatford just.
WNBA and women's basketball fans. Glad to be back with you folks in one piece. We'll talk about that momentarily, but welcome in, folks, to the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball world. A lot to get to on this Tuesday night, March the 8th, 2016. Of course, alongside the starting four this evening of Eric Nemchok over in Elmhurst, Illinois, and, of course, the rest of the El Nino crew this evening. Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart both up to 5 from me up here in Los Angeles, California. And, of course, Kyle McClurg in studio here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Guys, good evening. How's it going? Good to see you.
Hello, hello.
Hey, hey, everyone. I think Hurricane Crystal is giving me bad allergies, but I'm good.
So, again, folks, real quick, we will say that we were, again, knocked off the air yesterday. As you folks can know, California has just had no luck getting rain for a while, I'll say. But we've had rain in spurts, but when we have had rain, it has not been really pleasant as of late. We've had a lot of really severe rain the past day or so. From Sunday into yesterday, we had pretty much hurricane force winds yesterday that forced me to go underneath the covers and cuddle up with my dog and my stuffed animals yesterday. It was pretty loud yesterday. And due to the fact, too, of power outages, too, around my neighborhood down here, we cannot stream our show live yesterday because of the power going out and the internet. So we decided to rain check and come out with you folks here this evening, here on Tuesday night instead. And, of course, folks, hit us up on Twitter throughout the course of the night or in the live chat box at WNBA365, at CallumMac3, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010, or at Nemchocky with the hashtag WNBA365, or hit up the live chat box. We'll get to your comments in that chat box throughout the course of our program this evening. And, folks, I'm also right now checking out the live stream on my desktop behind me. It looks like there may be a small problem with perhaps the stream running a little bit short or a little bit slow right now, so bear with us. And if you need to push F5 on your keyboard or hit the refresh button, and hopefully we'll get those errors and bugs worked out for you folks over the remainder of our hour get-together this evening. All right, guys, let's go back and revisit yesterday's moves, and all three moves yesterday made by the Chicago Sky yesterday. The Sky signing three players yesterday: Yvonne Turner, Shanice McKinney, and Jackie Gemelos, all retained and brought in by the Sky yesterday on March 7th. So, Eric, starting with you, of course, this evening, with you being our resident Sky fan and living in the Chicago area. So, obviously, Eric, Jackie Gemelos, great story, knockdown comeback story, of course. Rough career, ACL tear after ACL tear, but still, though, in spite of that, overcoming all those hurdles and getting herself back into playing shape, and maybe it doesn't play a whole lot, but when she does play, she can be effective in many ways. Eric, what do you make in wake and light of the three players signed by the Sky yesterday? Not just Gemelos, but all three that were signed by the Chicago team yesterday.
Yeah, they're all three of them are definitely just training camp signings. I think Gemelos is going to have to really fight for her position again. Last year in the preseason, she was really hot from three, and I think she kind of won that. She kind of won that battle, and because of her hot preseason, she didn't really contribute that much. She didn't play often, but otherwise, I think Yvonne Turner. We actually had her 2 years ago in training camp, but she got injured before she could really get going, really prove herself. So it's good to see her back. It's good to see her get another shot. And Shanice McKinney, she's got some WNBA experience, but I think this is just she's just like a big body assigned for training camp to push her centers and maybe find a diamond in the rough. Who knows? But like I said, they're just training camp signings. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do, but I'm not holding my breath for any of them to really make an impact this season.
Crystal, as Eric said, two of the three players involved in signings are all coming back from either short-term injury or, in Jackie Gemelos' case, Crystal, just been bump in the road after bump in the road, ACL tears left and right. And for Jackie to, continue to keep pressing forward and keep playing at a pretty, I don't know if you would say below average pace or whatnot, but for her just to keep battling back from injury after injury. Then, of course, as Eric said, though, with Turner as well, also battling injury when she was signed by Chicago, during that 2012-2013 season. And while they may be training camp signings, Crystal, I guess if they do, in fact, get a spot, what can they bring, though, to the Sky this season?
Well, first, I just like to say that what Jackie G is doing, that takes a lot of dedication and want, because a lot of people, I think, especially going through what she went through, have just given up after all those surgeries. But she came back, and I hope she from my understanding, it's a training camp contract, like Eric said, but I would love to see her on the team again. I mean, I think now that she's a little bit healthier, she could bring more to the team. I mean, she's playing pretty well overseas. And the other two, I really don't know too much about them, so I really can't really speak on them that well. But I guess we'll see what they can bring to the table for Chicago.
Shorty, my memory may elude me, but I believe that McKinney was actually with San Antonio a couple, either last season or in 2014 briefly before she went somewhere else, I believe. Turner, as we said, has not played in the league in a few years. And, of course, Jackie G, as we said, has bounced back time in and time out from, injuries that would really, not only derail a player's career, but, end their career. ACL tears are becoming a really common injury in basketball, in football. In baseball's case, it's Tommy John surgery, but ACL tears are on the rise in a lot of contact sports, even non-contact sports, or in this case, a pretty physical game in basketball. But I guess, Shorty, with these three coming in for training camp, is this probably like one of their last chances, maybe, to probably get a spot somewhere on a WNBA franchise for the summer, or do you probably see something else, perhaps? What do you think?
I wouldn't necessarily say it would be their last chance. It all depends on, how they perform in training camp, especially, in front of a Pokey Chapman. If they can, show their worth to her, they might get a shot on that said team, which is the Chicago Sky. Or if not, you have other WNBA organizations, looking to see who they can bring in, during training camp and after multiple players are cut. So they might get another shot somewhere else. So it wouldn't definitely be the end of them. But like everyone has said on this panel, it takes perseverance to do what Jackie G did. I mean, like it was brought up, so many injuries, multiple ACL tears. You would think her career would have been over, but it's that perseverance that allowed her to come back and ultimately get another shot within the Chicago Sky training camp. Now, as for the other two, in my opinion, it's not known. I don't really know too much about those said players, but yes, it's ultimately great for all three to get a shot in the Chicago Sky training camp.
Now, Eric, we're going to go back to you real quick before we move on to today's moves made in the WNBA. As I said, we've kind of noticed a bit, guys, probably in football and in other sports that we've kind of seen ACL tears being on the rise, pretty much as we're kind of seeing now with so many sports trying to really make the game safer for all their athletes in regards to either the NFL and concussions, Major League Baseball, also doing things with concussion protocol. But I guess, Eric, is it alarming, though, that you're seeing a lot more athletes on both sides of the ball in any sport ripping ACLs more than anything else? Pretty much every time you turn around, you're hearing about a player being out for 6 to 8 months because of an ACL injury. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure, it's alarming. I think the players these days are just bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and I'm not sure if their bodies can handle it. I'm not an athlete myself, so I can't really speak to this, but some people want to blame the shoes, some people want to blame the trainers, and I'm not really sure where the blame goes, if there is any. I just think that the style of play these days is not. It's exceeding what the human body is capable of. I'm not a physical, I'm not a PT, I'm not a chiropractor or whatever, so not my really area of expertise, but that's just my opinion because, like you said, they are on the rise. The injury rates, especially in the knee areas, they're terrible. I mean, you hear about, like you said, you hear about something like every week, like so-and-so tore ACL, MCL, PCL, whatever three-letter acronym you want to come up with for a knee. They're being injured. So it's definitely something we got to look into and help develop their training so they can stay on the court.
Crystal, I think in the time I was doing PONU women's basketball this season, I think I saw 3 pretty self-explanatory injuries during the season. We had one of our players roll her ankle in an exhibition game. We had a player from Seattle Pacific rip her ACL when she did not land properly going for a jumper, and she went down in a heap. We had a player from BYU Hawaii also jam her ankle in a game that we played. So you've kind of seen more ankle, but more so, Crystal, in every sport it's been ACL problems, knee problems, MCL sprains. And, I don't know if this would really work, but, I've contemplated we've seen the NFL and football put money in towards, concussion research and protocol. Could other sports probably implement that same system for, researching why players nowadays are always ripping ACLs or MCLs, perhaps?
Well, actually, because I'm taking kinesiology as a backup plan, women are more susceptible to ACL tear because of where our bodies are made. We're not made to, like, the way our bodies are set up is obviously different muscular structure from a men, but our bodies, I guess you could say, aren't made for impact like that. So that is why you see a lot more women than men with ACL tears. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen to men. Obviously, we see it happen, but that is one of the reasons. I mean, there's not really, other than that, I mean, there's not really much you can do. I mean, you just have to go out there and hope for the best and kind of not think about it. Because, I mean, a person can slip and tear their ACL by coming out of the shower. I mean, so it's not necessarily just so much as playing the game. But, I mean, I guess you can have research on how to prevent them. But, I mean, unfortunately, injuries happen, and I'm not sure if there's really anything as a whole that you could do to prevent, things like that from happening. But just, I guess, praying that it doesn't happen. But, like I said, I mean, there's not really much we can do. It's just gotta, not think about it, I guess. I mean, being an athlete myself, I mean, I'm not thinking about going out there hurting anything, and it can happen. You just gotta stay positive.
Shorty, Crystal just brought it up the right way, as you go out there and play and you don't really think about injuring yourself. Obviously, with me playing baseball in the States and across the pond for many years, I played games where I had gotten injured, either jammed ankles, dislocated knees, you name it. I pretty much did it all, to the point now where I think I may have to go in and get my elbow cleaned up from just the repetitive throwing on and on. And like I said, I mean, I've seen former teammates of mine that have had to get Tommy John surgery, which basically they rip out the ligaments in your elbow and replace them with the good ones in your non-throwing elbow, and they go into the other side basically. It's been a procedure going on in baseball, and the guys come back 6 to 8 months back in shape and better for throwing and pitching and stuff like that. But I guess, Shorty, are you a bit alarmed, though, as a fan, though, seeing the rise of ACL tears across, every pro sport and even at the college level as well?
Yes, it's definitely an alarming thing to see, so many injuries across the sports landscape. But I do think that Crystal brought up an interesting point in seeing that ACL tears seem to be more common in women's athletics than anything. And we had a conversation about this, a few days ago, and I was definitely surprised. And I'm not sure, per se, to pinpoint what would that reason being. Of course, we know that women's and men's bodies are made differently. So, it could be possible that, the impact is much more different, as, how much pressure can the women's, athlete take, versus their other counterparts. And also, does it have much to do with different bone mass within, a woman and, a man, of course. So it's definitely interesting. But, yeah, just seeing so many injuries, coming about, definitely not a good look. And hopefully they can take, more preventive cautions to, try to avoid that.
Yeah, definitely. So again, folks, our thoughts again about the pretty alarming rise of ACL tears, and again, the 3 moves made yesterday, all by the Chicago Sky. Jackie Gemellos, Shanice McKinney, and Yvonne Turner all signed the contracts yesterday. Guys, only 2 moves made on the WNBA home front today, beginning with the first one made this afternoon, and earlier in the day, the Mystics extending the contract of the young gun Emma Miesemann today, again extending her contract earlier in the day today. Shorty, Miesemann has kind of been that wild card for the Mystics last season, played phenomenal for them starting-wise, and pretty much was a driving force as to why the Mystics, again, and why Mike Tebow, such a very good and very great overseas scout and GM head coach in the league. Shorty, to mind, how important is it, though, that the Mystics locked up Miesemann long-term in your mind?
Oh, in my opinion, it was definitely important. I mean, she came into the league so young, if I can recall, about at age 19. If I can recall, you know what? No, I take that back. Around age, I'd say earlier, like she, of course, we know that the limit is 22, but she was still one of the youngest to come in the league, so that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, she's definitely a big part of what they do. 6'4", can spread the floor for the Mystics. Last year, averaging 11.6 rebounds per game. So she's definitely a big part of what they do. Definitely, and also became an all-star for them as well. But one of the most interesting things for me about this signing is they actually gave out the details of her contract terms, which was she got in a contract extension through 2019, which was very interesting because the WNBA rarely releases that information, number one. Number two, it comes to mind that now, I guess within the CBA, the WNBA now allows 4-year contracts to be signed, which is pretty interesting, and it makes sense because for me, earlier in previous shows, I brought up of how I had thought that Christy Tolliver and Angel McCoughtry were free agents this year, but since they weren't, it seems to me that they have signed 4-year deals, and that is the same with Emma Meesseman now. But it was, good for them to lock her up, and she's definitely a big puzzle for them for now in the future.
Crystal, I think that if we had Albert Lee, our go-to guy from SwishAppeal.com, Bullets Forever, and one of the beat writers for the Mystics on the SB Nation pages, he would, say a lot of good things about Meesseman, and that this is probably their biggest move this offseason is keeping her in place and in that, in that puzzle for the next 3 years. And I guess I'd ask the same question, KT. How important is it that Meesseman is retained by the Mystics for at least the next 3 years in your mind?
I mean, that's very important. She's not even in her prime yet. So imagine what it's going to be like when she actually develops more into a player. I mean, like Shorty said, she came into the league young, and she did very well for her to be as young as she was. And, I mean, I think it's good they locked her up. If they didn't do it, someone else would have, and that would have been a very nice present under somebody else's Christmas tree, because she's going to be one of Washington's main players, and they're a young team, so that whole core that they have is going to be together for a while. And I don't think they're going to get rid of Mike Tebow anytime soon, like Connecticut did, which was still dumb, but that's besides the point. But I think they're going to have a pretty decent team. I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs this upcoming year, which I think they will. I think they're going to be a pretty strong team coming out of the East.
All right, Eric, here's your chance to say how much you love Mike Tebow again, man, because, again, he goes out, finds Meesseman overseas. But, again, like we said, though, this is a reason why he is one of the best head coach / GMs in the entire league. Again, finding players like this, and as you said, Eric, though, a while back, one of the best overseas scouts for talent, finds this diamond in the rough. Now he's got her locked up for the next 3 years. Eric, your thoughts on this move made by Tebow and the Mystics today?
It was absolutely essential that they got this done because Emma Meesseman is already one of the best players in the league, and she's still so young. She's not in her prime yet, as Crystal said, and she's already well above average at her position. I mean, you could argue she's one of the best pure power forwards in the league. The other day I was scrolling through the Minnesota Lynx. They have a website where all the shot percentages are listed by location and everything. Meesseman was well above league average in every single area. She's from 1 to 5 feet, from 10 to 15 feet, so on and so forth. And she's shooting threes now, which is incredibly scary for opposing teams. And then defense, she's in perfect position every single time. She can block shots, she can rebound. Extremely intelligent player. Just the sky's the limit for her. And yeah, it was essential that they got this deal done.
Yeah, and I think, folks, probably the biggest move made by the Mystics the entire offseason, again, is retaining Emma Meesseman. As Shorty said, those will perhaps for the next 3 seasons. The other move made today, guys, was by the New York Liberty. Today, re-signing veteran forward and guard and everything else included. Swin Cash retained by the Liberty. Also today, news broken about 12:30 Pacific time today. Shorty, obviously, we'll begin with you on this one. We know that Swin has, she's kind of been on that decline on the way downhill for the past few seasons. Again, been on the bench, has played in spurts, but again, more so is out there just grinding away. more so, as we said, though, for veteran leadership for a very good New York team that had probably one of the best turnarounds, perhaps maybe in all of league history. How they turned a team around from being bottom half of the Eastern Conference to number one in the East last season, and again relying a lot on vets, but also, Cash has kind of been there. And again, this isn't the Swin Cash that we would have seen in Detroit or Seattle, or even before she went to before she left from Chicago, left for Chicago, and then had gone to Atlanta for a bit. Shorty, I guess I would ask, though, what is the long-term plan, though, for New York signing Swin Cash in your mind, though? What do you think and why?
Long-term plan for the Libs, I mean, it's definitely not the stat sheet, because with her averaging 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, it's definitely not the stat sheet, but it's the, as you brought up, the veteran leadership that she brings in. I mean, just she's just so savvy, she's just so savvy as a veteran presence for, the New York Liberty. I definitely thought that she was the glue that not only kept the team together for last season, but elevated them. And you need that. I mean, beyond the stat sheet, you always need that glue player. That person's going to step up, get into the other players' faces, and, tell them what's what. Tell them what they need to know. And Swin Cash is definitely that person. And also, not just, the work that she does with the Libs to help promote the team, but also the WNBA. She's a great ambassador for the WNBA. So I definitely thought it was great on their part to bring her back in as that veteran glue presence, to not only show visibility for the New York Liberty, but also the WNBA as a whole.
Crystal, Shorty brought it up, and we saw this as well, is that you will not go to a game, and you probably can, and you should not expect to see 32 for New York on the scoreboard with 20 points and 10 rebounds next week like it was for her back in the heyday. You're going to see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 at tops perhaps for Swin now, because we said coming off the bench and helping out in those circumstances. But again, though, Crystal, like Shorty said, though, as well, a glue player, someone that kept that team and those young kids in check and in line during the season. Again, playing that role of, that veteran leader off the bench. And, and I think, though, that she kind of may have probably found her happy place to round out her career, and that's in New York, of course. She's been a fan favorite there ever since she got traded there from Atlanta a few seasons ago. But I guess, Crystal, as this, as sad as it may be to see Swin Cash on this decline, though, but still, though, seeing her, going out there, suiting up and playing hard and grinding all season, even though she's not, how she was in her earlier on in her career, how important is that? How important is it, though, for not just New York and that team, but for the entire league, though, that you still see Swin going out there and still performing at, at the highest level that she can, even though that she's been in the league 14, going on 15 seasons.
I mean, I think she's pretty much just a coach on the bench now. Like Shorty said, you can't expect her to make that many points. I mean, I think she's just there to help the younger team, like the younger players on the team. I guess she's just like a mentor, to tell them, like, this is what you should do. This is how you keep your body healthy. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. I mean, pretty much I think she's just going to be another – and I know Callan hates this coach. She's going to be a female Lambert, not essentially in the same way as far as attitude, but as in, like, she's going to be the coach on the floor. She's going to be coaching on the bench. She's going to be helping them out in training camp and stuff like that. I think it's just the fact, I think it's I don't know if it's really important to the league, but I'd say it's cool in the league that they still have, like an OG, an original, because, like, as we all know, Swin Cash is on her way out, and she was one of the very few originals that we have left. And so I think it's kind of cool that we still have one left. Well, we have a few left, but I think it's still cool that we still have a couple left that are, I guess you could say, marking their names in the history book. But don't expect New York fans, don't expect Swin Cash to be the Swin Cash of old, like her Detroit Shock days, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's important, though, that we all say, that you won't get that you're not going to get the Delisha Milton-Jones in her rookie year in '98 with LA, or get the Swin Cash from the Shock or the Storm in the mid 2000s. But I think, though, guys, that just with the move, though, and as Shorty said, though, guys, Swin is much more than just a player on the floor. she's a lot of other things. As we say, she's been involved with the WNBA Players Association. She's been, one of the best, marketing tools that the league uses. And again, not afraid to take stands against people on social media that want to give the league crap for no reason. And also not only that, guys, already has her future lined up. She's got it lined up already with her career with, either CBS Sports Network or ESPN going forward with her in her broadcasting career. Eric, as we go back to you, buddy, as we see you put the earmuffs on in studio over there in Elmhurst. But Eric, obviously. But Eric, we know though that as we already talked about, Swin Cashkin is probably on her way out the door sometime soon. But I guess in regards to her though, right now, is this more about her, being a glue player instead of a star player, but also, as Crystal brought up though earlier on, being that secondary coach on the floor for the rest of her teammates in your mind?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Swin Cash isn't what she used to be. She hasn't been at that level for a very long time, I think. But in New York, they've got some new pieces in there. They need somebody who can help bring them along, help lead them, and that's something that I don't think can be understated. The veteran leadership factor, the championship experience factor. She's an Olympian. She's pretty decorated. She's a pretty accomplished player, and I think Bill Laimbeer likes those types. Very tough. She's versatile. She can play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. And yeah, being the second coach on the floor, that's important because, like I said, the core of the Liberty is actually pretty young outside of Tina Charles. So, players like Kia Stokes, Brittany Boyd, whoever they're going to be bringing in this year, they're going to be. I think that is pretty important. Having a coach act as a player. No, having a player act as a coach on the floor, and Swin is probably one of the better players in the league at doing that.
Crystal, between you and me having, the experience of playing, sports either at the high school or collegiate level, how important is a player like that can be both a player, whether they're aged and, like in Swin's case, they're age and experience, but again, can be that, can be a mentor, though, to those younger players coming into the system?
I think it's very important. I think a lot of, especially in a college sense or even in a pro sense, you have those rookies that need someone to look up to and to guide them into what to do. So I think it's important as long as they're doing it right, as long as they're willing to help. And also the player has to want to listen, because there's a lot of young players who are selfish and they don't want to really listen to what an old player has to talk about or what this player did, because they're essentially not effective anymore. So, but I think it's important if both the new player and the veteran are willing to help each other without bumpy heads.
Tanisha, I've kind of, ping-ponged this question around, before the show in regards when we were going to get to talk about Swin. Is, do you think, though, that she's kind of been one of those players, though, that's kind of just been brought in on one-year deals year after year just because, that the team and organization doesn't really know when they're going to actually say, for me, enough's enough, and they're going to finally step aside? Do you think, though, that New York has probably been doing that the past couple years with Cash in regards to just giving her one-year deal after one-year deal, perhaps like a one-year rental, basically, in your mind?
Yes, I do. And I think that they do it at her request. I think, she's the one that is requesting, one-year deals, because at this point, as we brought up late in her career, she's weighing out her options. She has been doing, announcing for other networks and things like that. So I just think that she's just weighing out her options, and she's also, listening to her body. I definitely think her body will be the main factor in all this, in the decision making. When her body tells her, it's time to pick it up. It's time to hang it up. She'll hang it up. So her body, her health, along with other, factors are going to be the reason, why she continues to sign, one-year deals until she finally calls it quits.
All right, rapid fire before we move on, guys, real quick. Shorty, starting with you. Swin Cash, Hall of Famer in your mind, yes or no?
Yes.
Crystal?
Yeah.
Eric, what about you?
Yes.
All right, so everyone is in favor of Swin Cash going to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame when her career does end sometime soon, and hopefully it won't be anytime soon, as, again, she's retained by the Liberty, signed a contract today. along with Emma Meesman's, we're having her contract extended by the Washington Mystics earlier today. And those are all the moves made in the WNBA on today. And again, once more, cash back to New York. Washington extends the contract of Emma Meesman as well going forward for today. And hopefully we'll have some more good news to report for you folks when we have our next show tomorrow as well, back here at 9 o'clock PST, midnight Eastern, back here on WNBA 365. Shorty, getting back to you on this one, of course, today, guys, is International Women's Day. Of course, we have pretty much seen the WNBA celebrate the day with a lot of, of the foreign players today across Twitter. We've had our own tributes to people and either family or friends that we want to, that we wanted to shout out today for this very special day, of course. But one of my pals, Jared, who is a DJ for the Mystics, Capitals, and Wizards at Brighton Center, said, it shouldn't just be one day out of the year that we, admire and honor the the stepping stones that females have paved the way for, not just in the sports world but across business and in the political field. Shorty, how important is, though, of course, that you see the WNBA marketing this type of day going forward? But again, as Jared said, though, it should be more than just one day out of the year that we really admire and again really thank the female pioneers across every facet across world and U.S. history. I guess your thoughts and why.
I mean, yes, for today to be, International Women's Day, definitely big, especially, the part of the WNBA, talk about marketing and things like that, and that's just one of the things that they can use to start basically today, because it's a day, for women, all about women, so they can definitely get their start right here, promote International Women's Day. And also for this day, I just want to give a shout out to my mom. Hey.
Crystal, I think that you probably won photo or IWD 2016 photo of the year, perhaps, or at least photo of the day, at least, when you had sent out the photo of your mom, of course, who of course served our nation for quite some time in many facets of the world, of course, and when you were living in Chicago briefly, and then you made your way out to Los Angeles and across the country as well. I guess, Crystal, how much does this day kind of really mean to you? But of course, with you as well, having a parent who has served in our armed forces.
I think it's a pretty cool thing that there is a day to, I guess, honor women and realize that women can be powerful, women can be great, women can be, anything that a man could be. Outside of the physical aspect, but I mean, I don't know. I really can't explain it. I just think it's cool. It was nice to see that all these people honor these great women and everything that they've done and for what they've done and everything that they have accomplished. And I actually, even though it's not talk about him, I actually had two parents that served in the military, but my mom served longer. My mom served 23 years, and it was kind of cool, to see her. I guess, do what she did. I can't really explain it, but I think the hardest part was moving around at such a young age all the time and having to make new friends and everything, because I think that might have been probably the worst part of it. But I think the cool part is that you get to meet new people, you get to see new cultures, you get to see new things. But it was kind of cool. Other than her having to be gone for like a year in different countries, I would say it was a pretty cool experience. I'm an Army brat, so a lot of people hate the term, but I don't mind the term. But I don't know. I would say it was pretty awesome to experience that.
And we thank your mom for all the hard work and dedication, Crystal, and we'll go there. And of course, Eric, Eric, of course, Crystal shares the photo of her mom. Of course, I share my photo with Candace Wiggins, of course, someone that I've known for, soon to be 12 years once the season gets underway, and everything else included, and I've, of course, I think with the WNBA, Eric, and women's basketball, that I've got to meet a lot of really good players across college level and the pro level. From seeing Diana Taurasi play when she was still a young pup, you could say, at UConn when she was in college, and of course seeing her grow to what she's what she is now. And I don't think I've told this story. I think I've told Crystal and Shorty a couple times, but like a pretty cool defining moment for me was, I was at the Mercury Sparks game on my 20th birthday, the first time I ever gone to Staples Center, and the Mercury players were hanging out behind the basket, way away from where I was sitting for a post-game autograph session, and it was me and these three people, these three kids that are about, I'd say between 15 and 16 years old sitting next to me. And Diana, we could see Diana Taurasi, meeting with all the Mercury fans across the way. And one of them, I think it was one of the kids' sisters, one of the two brothers got their sister to whistle really loud, and they end up getting Diana's attention. And they end up saying, hey, all three of us, all four of us, they were pointing at me, then the three of them said, hey, it's all of our birthdays. Can you say happy birthday? And she was, Eric, so kind enough to get away for a bit and literally cupped her hands like this and yelled happy birthday across Staples Center to all of us, which I thought was really, really nice. And Eric, you see these players interact with each other on social media. They interact with the fans, and they're like one of, probably the only real group of athletes that really will take the time to talk to fans on social media, and they're really outgoing, and they'll sign all the autographs for you as they want, Eric. So I guess how important is though that the WNBA did use today as a way to kind of market their product in some capacity?
It's hugely important because, as we've been over many times on this program, the WNBA is a trailblazer as far as women's rights, women's athletics, so on and so forth, and they really seizing the opportunity for the International Women's Day. It just it gave them an opportunity to kind of put out there, hey, we have some really amazing women here in our product, and we're proud of it.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. And guys, I would also say, when I had gone to visit the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, while I was back in New York and back in Connecticut, and going to the Ring of Honor and seeing all those NBA legends, inducted in there, but also seeing, C. Vivian Stringer, Dawn Staley, and Tara Vanderveer, and, all these, other female and WNBA trailblazers like Lisa Leslie getting in this year, which was phenomenal to see for her. Ann Myers Drysdale, Nancy Lieberman, Becky Hammond will be up there sometime very soon, in my honest and humble opinion. And seeing all those legends, even seeing Cheryl Miller also in the Hall of Fame as well, which was really great to see, was really empowering as not just a NBA and basketball fan, but also as a female and WNBA and women's basketball fan as well. Really good to see, and of course, hopefully everyone out there that was able to celebrate the day has enjoyed the day today, but also to seeing all of those fantastic people as well today across the sports world today, with women's International Women's Day going on across the country and in the globe today. So, Shorty, with the season on the horizon, that brings me back to a point that we brought up as well on the home opener last year, is WNBA local television. Now, guys, today the LA Galaxy released their television schedule for the 2016 season, getting underway with their first telecast on this Saturday on the 12th. They'll have their first game on local television. But of course, Shorty, we go back pretty infamously to last year when the Sparks and Storm game, the first game of the year, was blacked out and not shown until 10 o'clock local time because the Galaxy already had booked a home game against the Vancouver Whitecaps, owned by my man Steve Nash, at 7:30 local time, and the Sparks game was not shown on NBA TV, live access, and/or local television because they chose to use the away team broadcast. That was shown at 10 o'clock local time. So here we were watching it on the Stat Tracker and on Twitter. So, Shorty, I guess here we go again. Are you prepared for more WNBA TV games blacked out due to something like this?
Yes, I am very well prepared, and especially on the Los Angeles side. It's just so many conflicting schedules between the Sparks and the Galaxy, and that has happened more than one season. It happened the previous year before. It wasn't during the home opener, but it just happened during certain games throughout the season, where we get these blackouts and things like that. But sadly, in our case, beggars can't be choosy, because we can complain about we can complain about the many blackouts, but I will, give TWC props also, because, out of all the WNBA franchises for their local network TV broadcast, the Sparks do show the most games, home game, well, just games in general, not just home games, but games in general. I think the New York Liberty is second, but yes, TWC shows 25 of the LA Sparks games, on their broadcast. So I do thank them for that. But other than that, yeah, we'll continue with many blackouts, so on and so forth.
Crystal, it's I'm not surprised that again that they won't show the full season on television. This isn't baseball; you have to show all 162 games on television, or the NFL has to show all their games, of the NBA having all 81 games or 82 games on the season schedule, also like the NHL does. But Crystal, again, I just remember hearing the outrage, the frustrated fan bases, not just LA but also Seattle fans that could not watch that game on television because of live access and NBA TV blacking out the game until 10 o'clock PST, or in that case PDT, because of, again, Time Warner Cable Sports and having that conflict with the Galaxy having one of their games shown ahead of the Sparks. And again, I'm not surprised that would happen. But I guess, Crystal, what could probably happen so that this does not happen again sometime soon in your mind?
Well, for one, I'm kind of glad I couldn't see that game because the Sparks lost terribly that game. For two, I mean, I think it's league-wide. It's not just, the Sparks. There was a lot of that. I think, it goes back to, how a lot of teams can't use their own arenas because of, like, a wrestling match or something. It's pretty much the same thing. I think who's ever scheduling these or who's ever doing the TV schedule should get together with these companies and get together with whoever is running the stadiums and say, look, we understand that, this is what you're going to do, but we have a season here, and the season is our priority, and fans don't want to have to drive, like 2 hours away to go see them play somewhere else. Like for instance, when the Sparks had to play at Long Beach, I had to drive like 2 hours to go to a game that I'm glad they would, because if they would have lost, somebody would have paid me for some gas money. Abdi, Crystal Bradford, somebody was going to pay me some gas money because I was not going to it would have been bad, but luckily they won. But, I think it's whoever, it's like the higher-ups. I think they should do a little bit of a better job on trying to get that figured out. But like Shorty said, Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, they do a good job of playing most Sparks games, and so you can't complain in that aspect because they do have a lot of they do show a lot of the games. But at the same time, I wish that they would stop treating the Sparks like a bald-headed stepchild and move some of their games up and respect them a little bit more. That's the worst thing about it, is like that's their station, but they still don't get enough respect to have their game shown when it's playing instead of when the game is like over for 3 hours already.
Eric, and that's the problem though too when the Sparks have to compete with the 5-time MLS Cup champion LA Galaxy, again the only team in Major League Soccer to win 5 championships in the league's history. Is you're going to be put on that lower pedestal. I guess, Eric, before we get to any questions, I guess, can you explain to us West Coasters how the TV situation is in Chicago and all that fun stuff at all, man?
Yeah, the TV situation, it's not great. It could be worse, but it's not great. Usually some games aren't on TV at all, and some games are relegated to, I forget what the channel is even called because they change it every year. It's they were on WCAU one year. I forget if it was MeTV one year. I don't even know. But all I know is that not all the games are on TV, and when they are, the quality is kind of poor. It's basically just the live access feed, honestly, which is not up to par, as we know. And yeah, the TV situation, it's pretty disappointing. Honestly, I know you guys are frustrated about the Time Warner situation, but when they do broadcast Sparks games, they do a good job. I think you would agree. They do a fairly professional job. The Sky are still searching for that for whatever reason. I don't even know why it's taking them so long, why they can't put out a good product on TV yet, but that's the way it is for us.
And Eric, not just staying with you real quick, but not just have not changed stations, but I believe didn't they just also recently change their broadcast team as well for On Air Town as well?
Yeah, we had Lisa Byington and Brooke Weisbrod 2 years ago, and then it was suddenly changed to Eric Collins and Stephen Bardo. And there's a big fuss over that because Brooke claimed that and our new broadcast team is getting paid more supposedly. So Brooke claimed that because they were women, they were getting paid less and they were kind of given the boot. And I think it was because these people also work. They all work for Big Ten Network, so they
Mhm.
kind of consider themselves equals. Obviously, that's not what happened. Although I think the broadcast quality was better last year than it had been in years past. I really like our current broadcasters, but that's just personal preference.
And Shorty, and with Eric just saying about Big Ten, here the Sparks, let go, the man himself, the greatest of all time, Larry Burnett, in favor of a Pac-12 network broadcast team of Jim Watson and Mary Murphy, along with Jaron Collins, before Jaron took the job at Golden State last season. So I guess, Shorty, not just about the TV situation, but I guess, how is it, though, as well, that you keep, switching your television on your talent as well every season as well? Because I know that we had Chris McGee fill in one time, and he, of course, is preferably in studio for TWCSM. We had Dave Miller fill in as a special guest, color announcer. But I guess, not just the, the games getting on TV, but I guess, Shorty, inconsistency in the broadcast booth in your mind as well. What do you think?
I mean, for the Sparks, that inconsistency, just came on, around 2014, because if I can recall, Larry Burnett, was a longtime Sparks broadcaster for so many years, and I mean, no disrespect to Jim Watson and Mary Murphy, but I mean, I personally miss Larry Burnett. Just to hear his color commentary was just so it was just so great, because you could just hear it in his voice that not only did he love the Sparks and know the game, he just his passion for the team and women's sports in its entirety. You could tell he was a person who just loved what he did. He loved what he did, and he loved announcing for the LA Sparks before new management, Guggenheim Partners came along, brought the team, decided to change up everything, bring in their own group of announcers, and that led to the dismissal of Larry Burnett. But I mean, just hopefully, at least with these two, Jim Watson and Mary Murphy, hope they can continue to be a part of the team. To keep that consistency there, because definitely don't want to be changing partners, every few years or so. But definitely much respect to Larry Burnett, and he'll definitely be missed.
Crystal, what are your thoughts? Eric just said, again, that the Sky, brought in a new broadcast team for the 2015 season. Again, Larry Burnett was there for the Sparks from day one up until 2014 again. And he was one of the other people that actually knew what was going on with the Sparks situation over that offseason as well. But, Crystal, we did see Mary Murphy, though, fill in for Lisa Leslie when she could not do any games on Fox Sports West or Prime Ticket or even KDOC 101 when the Sparks had, flip-flop networks as well. But I would also, I guess, Chris Lasto, your thoughts, though, as well about, inconsistency as well in the WNBA broadcast booth as well.
Mary Murphy and Jim Watson, they're okay. I mean, they grew on me because you get so used to hearing Larry Burnett because he genuinely was excited. Like, you could tell he not only did he love basketball, but he loved women's basketball, and he knew what was going on. Not saying that, Jim Watson and Mary Murphy don't know what's going on, but I mean, because they bring a lot of energy too. I think after a while, you kind of get used to. I mean, they're not bad. I've heard worse commentators. I mean, you can have commentators that are just really bland, but I mean, it's weird because when they first made the change, everybody was kind of like, "Where's Larry Barnett? Where's Larry Barnett?" So, I mean, I actually remember when that happened, but, like I said, it could be worse. I think that the worst change for me, though, is the in-game announcers that they changed. I used to love CJ. CJ did a great job. CJ was, cool. Not saying that there's nothing wrong with, I forgot his name. I think it's Robert and,
Robbie and Brittany.
I forgot. There we go, Robbie and Brittany. I didn't mean to butcher their name, sorry. But not saying there's nothing wrong with them, but CJ there was something about CJ that just got the whole place just in an uproar. I think that was probably the change that I hated the most, the in-game change. Because, I mean, DJ Mosky's still there, which is amazing. Because I think if DJ Mosky was gone, I think some of those Sparks games for me would kind of just be like watching fourth graders play basketball, not that much stuff going on. Not saying that the Sparks are playing like fourth graders. I'm just saying, like, the atmosphere. I'm not saying that the Sparks are playing like fourth graders. I'm just saying
that shade
at the start of the season.
I mean, that was more like second grade. Okay, no, let me not go there. But what I'm saying is like, atmosphere in a game means it means a lot. Not only do you want to go see these great players play, but you want to be entertained during halftime. You want to be entertained, doing the breaks in the game. You don't want to just sit there in a game like this. You don't want to be like, I'm just about to say it. You don't want to be like how it was at LA Pierce College or how at the CSUN men's basketball game. I don't want to be checking my Twitter feed in the middle of a game because it's boring. I'm not trying to throw any shade at that, but that's just what it is. Like, I think in-game, commentary makes the game, and I feel like if you could find the right connection, then you'll be okay. And I think Jim Watson and Mary, they're okay, but I mean, they'll work. They work.
Eric, okay, so we'll go from the local to the national now. Again, I'm not sure for predominantly for ESPN for games for you. I believe that you guys normally get Pam Ward and Carolyn Peck 9 times out of 10. You'll also get LaChina Robinson in as well. Eric, I would probably ask though, in regards to the WNBA on ESPN, they have that long-term deal in place. Would you like to see each team get a fair number of games shown on ESPN2 at some point in the season and not have it be divided up unequally amongst all 12 teams? Should everyone get a fair shake to play on ESPN is what I'm pretty much getting at. What do you think and why, dude?
Yes, absolutely. I get what they're trying to do. I get you show the superstar players more, you show the superstar teams more because people want to see them more and there's a better chance of them putting on a better product. But I think at the same time it does the WNBA fans who are already in place kind of a disservice because fans of teams like Washington or Connecticut who will be having a lot to cheer for this season, by the way. They're going to be looking at this and saying, hey, where's your respect? What do we have to do? I think we're better than this. I think we deserve to have our teams being shown on TV just as much as Chicago fans or Minnesota fans do. And, and also I think something can be said for, giving the casual fans or the people who aren't really into it just an idea of the parity in the league and the level of competition. I think if they do a better job of scheduling games that aren't necessarily, they don't project to be blowouts per se, you can have a competitive game between two teams who don't necessarily field all the household names basically. And I think that's very important in a league because it shows how much depth the league has, how much talent the league has. There are people who can play in this league who aren't all on Team USA, for instance.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And of course, Crystal, if you come out to our neck of the woods, of course, you get Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo and our cancer-fighting warrior and one of the best, Holly Rose, the sideline reporter. And of course, I met Ryan Rucco twice already when he was doing ESPN work for college football. I met Rebecca Lobo when I was at Staples Center and also at TSRA during the postseason. But I would probably, Crystal, ask for a two-part here, of course, your thoughts on ESPN2's West Coast broadcast team with Ryan and Rebecca and Holly Rowe, plus as well the other part of the question being, should all 12 teams get a fair number of games shown on ESPN2 in your mind?
First, I think Holly Lobo. I think Rebecca Lobo and Ryan Rucco work well together. I like their chemistry. Is that only West Coast? I thought everybody got them. That's only a West Coast broadcast thing, because I thought it was everywhere. But I like them. I think they have really good chemistry with each other, and I do think that everyone should get a fair amount of games on TV. No matter what, I don't think it's fair that you only get to see teams like Phoenix and LA and stuff on TV. Like Eric said, like people like Connecticut and Washington should be shown more. Even Dallas. I think Dallas is going to be a way better team. I think Dallas fans are going to have a little something to cheer for too. So I think everybody should get a fair amount of games shown on TV.
Shorty, over to you with the same two-part question. What do you got?
Yeah, in my opinion, I do love the West Coast broadcast team of Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo, but just in my opinion, not to throw any shade, but like I said, they do have great. No, seriously, they do have great chemistry between Ryan and Rebecca. Though you could blankly hear Rebecca's UConn homerism during nearly every Phoenix national televised broadcast, but that's beside the point. But just as far as other teams, go in their viewership within ESPN. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Of course, each team should get a fair shake, but in reality, that's not how things go because, most networks, they are driven by viewership. And I mean, to be honest, I would say a Connecticut Sun and San Antonio Stars game is not going to garner the same attention as a Phoenix Mercury and Minnesota Lynx game. So, they show, the two teams that are going to garner the most attention, not only, for WNBA fans, but casual viewers. So they, want to showcase the superstars of the league and whichever team is going to, show whichever team is not only going to show, but like just bring that viewership in. Like I said, it's not fair, but that's what happens because that's just how things go within the business of sports.
And if we had Reagan on, she could further explain those problems. But again, folks, hopefully if you are much like us, LA folks or people that live in Southern California, be prepared for the upcoming possible blackouts, like we saw again with the LA Sparks being booted off of a Time Warner Cable Sportsnet broadcast due to a LA Galaxy home game shown on local television and the Sparks game being shown way past time, again at 10 o'clock local time. That was, again, back first game of the year last season, again, where the LA Sparks and Seattle Storm could not or did not have their game shown at its 7 o'clock start time, once again due to a decision made by both teams to use the Time Warner Cable Sportsnet broadcast feed for that contest. Again, that kicked off last year's season between those two teams. And guys, speaking of broadcast teams, now again, Crystal brought up again about watching that CSUN men's basketball game again, which was a pretty awful night for the Matadors, for anyone wondering from a few weeks ago. But I pretty much know a lot of people in the business, and we'll kind of just show us off finally. But of course, guys, after the game, there is Crystal and myself hanging out with the Fox Sports Prime Ticket broadcast team of my go-to buddy, the guy in the middle, Mark Rogandino, and former Clippers great Corey Maggette. That was after the CSUN game between the Matadors and UCSB Gauchos. And Crystal, we can let you take the story because your Twitter caption was priceless.
Oh, yeah, you guys made me look so small. Anyone who's out there wondering, I'm about like 5'7"-ish, but I felt like a good 4 feet. No, Eric, calm down. But no, I felt so small, and then I just don't like that picture. That picture was just not where it was at for me. I think that was a Thursday. Yeah, it was a Thursday because I was there for my birthday. I had class earlier in that day. I think I had just took an exam. It was just a blah photo for me. And then he would just broadcast it to the world. So thank you for that. But it was cool. I mean, it was nice meeting, people who Calvin knew. And then I saw Corey Maggette, and I was a big Corey. I used to call him Corey Spaghetti back in the day, but I was a big Corey Maggette fan. So to see him in person, I was just like, geez, I knew he was tall, but I was just like, you made me feel so small. So thank you, Calvin and friends, for making me feel like I was 5'3" or something, making me feel like a mouse.
Like shorty.
Yeah, yeah, making me feel like a little Tamika Johnson or something. That picture was just not my favorite, but thank you. I had fun, though. I did have fun despite CSUN being terrible. I hope nobody's watching from CSUN, but you guys were bad. But thank you, I guess.
Tanisha, it's always fun for me to introduce family or friends to the broadcast team, and I've known Mark Rogandino for, quite some time. He went to SDSU, played with a few guys that played for the San Diego Sockers. He was at our celebrity game a few weeks ago and played, and he works for the Anaheim Ducks on Fox Sports Prime Ticket and Fox Sports West. And he's been, he does a lot of work, though, for PT and Fox Sports Prime Ticket and Fox Sports West. He also does work for Pac-12 Networks. He's done LA Galaxy games. He's done You know, plenty of international soccer. He's done, you know, he's a utility guy. He's done it all. And, you know, for me to bring Crystal to meet those two was fun. But I guess when you saw the photo, I guess your reaction.
No, I thought it was a great photo, even though Crystal over there, little Crystal, is in there. I mean, no, it was a great photo, and it's always, you know, cool to, share your connections, and just show your connections with other media members and things like that. We all know, of course, you're the super broadcaster, on this network, so share your connections, and it was definitely great for you to do that with Crystal, and just Crystal, don't worry, not everyone can be as tall. I personally know I'm 5'3", so I'm the shortest person on this network.
It wasn't even the height thing. It was just, I just think that's a bad photo of me. Like, it's not even the height difference. It's just a bad picture.
No, I don't think so. I thought it was a great photo.
And by the way, I will say that I have taken more photos with Crystal than Candace Wiggins' cousin Nate, who I've pretty much have hung out with for God knows how long, and I see him almost every other week. But I guess, Eric, is there any thoughts or reaction from you about seeing that photo at all?
Yeah, man, Crystal, you are like really short. You should consider heels or something like that. No, I have no additional reaction. I'm just nothing.
It wasn't even the height's not why I didn't like the photo. The height had nothing to do with it.
You
I just think
seem
it's
pretty
a bad
concerned
picture.
about it, though. I'm just saying.
Eric, do you think that Crystal should have probably asked Paul or Gene from Kiss for some of their elevator shoes for that photo?
I think she should have been like, because you guys like sit down or something like behind me, or if she's so insecure about it, you got to make it work somehow.
Or like stand on top of a box.
Yeah, stand on one of the chairs or something.
But the funny thing is, like, I was okay with being the shorter one there. It was just, I just did not like that picture of me. Like, not because of them being tall, bad picture. I could have did so today. I looked like I just went through it. Like, that was just a bad picture of me.
We'll be sure to get a better photo taken, Crystal, when we're at Staples over the summer. With that, folks, we'll quit while we're ahead. We'll sound the final buzzer right here and right now. And, folks, check back with us tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some more moves to report and probably more embarrassing photos of us, perhaps. Who knows? We'll see. Until tomorrow night, folks, for Eric Nimchok in Elmhurst, Illinois, for the rest of the El Nino crew, Crystal Thomas and Janisha Stewart both up in Los Angeles, and Cal McClurg down the I-5 from those two up in L.A., down here from Studio 171 in San Diego. We'll see you folks right back here tomorrow night for more coverage of the WNBA and the women's basketball world. We'll have some more free agency talk, hopefully. And if not, we'll be covering our bases with college conference tournaments and much more about the upcoming March Madness Network Office Pool on ESPN.com. More where that came from tomorrow, folks. Till then, see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye.